right, welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Sylvester Inspires Belief Cast. Once again, I have an amazing guest. I'd like to welcome Joao Rodrigues.
Hello, Todd.
Yes, thanks for being here.
Oh, I thank you. I'm very grateful to be here.
You bet. He brought his beautiful wife for support. She's on the side here cheering us on, so thanks for being here as well. And before we get started, I again want to thank our sponsor, Veracity Networks, and my friend Drew Peterson for making that possible. They've been really helpful in getting the word out. And exactly. Anyway, very, very thankful for them. And again, listeners, thank you for all your support and for sharing this podcast. So many people have responded and just feel very blessed. And today's going to be no different. We got an amazing guy named Joao Rodrigues, but he actually goes by
Joao.
Yeah,
but I go by John because it's kind of hard for Americans pronounce my name.
Yes. Yeah, and you're originally from Brazil.
Yep.
Yeah, and so John has lived an amazing life. He's doing amazing things, and I can't wait for you guys to hear his story. We're going to talk about his life in Brazil and then how he made it here to America. And he has a passion for money, actually. It's probably a good way to say it, but not just money just to make money, but more about learning how to save it, learning to invest, learning to make good, sound decisions to set your family in a financially sound situation.
Perfect.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's totally true.
And we'll get into that here in a minute too. But let's just get started. Tell us a little bit about growing up in Brazil and kind of go from there. And we'll talk a little bit about your family as well.
All right. So I grew up in the capital city of Brazil, which many people think is Rio de Janeiro or São Paulo, but it's actually a small state in Brazil called Federal District, which is the main city of Brasilia.
Okay.
So I'm from the capital city of Brazil, which is Brasilia.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up in 1995. I am actually 23 years old.
Okay.
And when I was born in a middle-class family. My family was not totally poor, but we were not rich as well. But I remember that I had a good life. Like, I always had food on my table, clothes. My mother, she was a single mom, and I have a brother as well who grew up with me.
Is he older? Or
he is younger than me, 1 year and 3 months.
Gotcha. So it's just you two?
Yeah. Well, actually, he grew up with me, but from my dad's side, I have more brothers and sisters, but I never had a very strong connection with them. So that I just grew up with one brother.
Okay, so your parents at one point were married, or did they never get married?
No, they never were married.
Okay.
When my father he met my wife, he was already married and he had 3 kids already. So
when your father met your mother,
yeah,
right?
So they had unfair,
Okay.
And I was born with my brother.
Okay.
Yeah, my father, he was he was a kind of like that guys, having fun all the time, stuff like that.
Kind of like what we would call a player.
Yeah, a player.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So did you hang out with your dad as a young kid? Did you guys get to know each other?
Not much. My mother, I grew up with her all the time, and I just saw my father a couple of times in the month. Like not too much, but something happened in the future, and I had more a connection with him, and I was about 12 years old. My mother, she got married again, but the guy she got married was not a very cool guy. He was cool in the beginning, but after that he started being violent. And then my grandparents, they went to the court to get my guardianship.
Oh, okay. Your grandparents knew that some bad things were happening in the home, and
Yeah, actually,
and
I
so
grew up with my grandma and my grandfather. I always lived with them, but then my mother and we moved to another neighborhood, and then she got married, and things were not working out very well. And then my grandparents went to the court, and they got me back, and I lived with them until I left for my LDS mission.
okay. So let's jump back just a little bit, though. So you just, growing up, not having your father in your home and stuff, and it's just you and your brother and your mom.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, I would imagine you probably had a lot of fun. At the same time, it might have been a little difficult. Did you ever feel sad not having your dad around?
No, not really, because I had my uncle and my grandpa. They were all those
Family or father figures.
Yeah, father figures I had in my life. So I never missed my father, but when I got back with him, I discovered that my dad was a cool guy. Really. Like, my mother always said bad stuff about him, But when I got to meet him, I was like, man, this guy is so cool.
Really?
Yeah, he was a mechanic. All the times I went to see him, he was laughing. He never made a drama about nothing. When I used to see him, he was always making fun about stuff, asking me about my life. He used to give me some money, which is not so much money, but he gave me a change.
He helped you out when you could.
Yeah, but he was cool. I didn't have the chance to be with him a lot, but in the last years of his life, I saw that he was a good person.
Right.
Well, he made some mistakes in life like everybody else, but for me, he was a cool person.
Right. So has he since passed away?
Yeah. When I got back from a mission around 2016, he got sick because he used to smoke a lot.
Okay.
And he worked hard a lot. He was tired. He never had time to rest. He was always working, and his body was getting tired, and he was smoking as well, not taking care of his health. And then one day he went to the hospital, and one day I was walking by his place where he used to work, and the place was closed. And I was like, wow, what happened? And I went to his house to talk to his wife, and she told me that he had been in the hospital. He was very sick. And she asked me to go there to see him. But at the time, I didn't realize that he was very, very sick. Like, I thought he was sick, but he would be good back, and he was gonna be back again. And 2 weeks after, she found me on the streets again, and she told me, go to see your father because he's very sick, and he wants to see you. But for some reason, I didn't go to the hospital to see him. I don't know why. For me, I thought he was gonna be back. And I think a couple of days after, it was on Saturday, I was sleeping. It was around 8 a.m. And she knocked our door, and she told my grandma that my dad passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but like, for me, I was not like totally sad for him, because at that point he was tired. He was very, very sick. I heard from the doctors that he was done.
Right.
He couldn't make it. So I called my mom. I told her that he had passed away, and my mother started to cry a lot. But I felt more. I felt that he was better than than he was.
Right. Yeah, he's not suffering anymore.
Yeah,
And it just felt
that's
good
the
knowing
point.
that part.
That's the
That,
point.
yeah.
And one thing that helped me a lot, it was the last time I saw him. We left together.
Yeah.
He was okay. He was fine. We had that friendship, So, for me, he went away, and we were good.
Wow. That's good.
We didn't have unfinished business.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's good. Yeah. So, and is your mom still living? Is she still alive?
Yeah, she is. She lives in Brasilia as well. My brother and they live together.
Okay. So
Yeah.
your brother's still down there as well?
Yeah, she is. She works with dentists. She's a really good salesperson. And my brother, I think she lives with her. I'm not sure, but yeah, but they are still down in Brazil.
Okay.
Yeah, my mother, she always she worked hard to raise my brother and I. She was a old school mom. You know what I mean? Like, she was do what I say, or I'm gonna spank you. And she
Right.
did a couple of times.
Yeah.
When my brother and I were kids, we used to fight, like do dumb stuff together, and a couple of times my mother got me.
Right.
You
Got a
know,
hold of you.
yeah. But today I realized that my mother, I never had like a good relationship with her. But today I realized that she did her best to raise me and my brother.
Right.
And I don't keep bad feelings for her about those times she spanked me. Like today, it's really funny to remember.
Yeah,
Because
right.
but that's fine. I don't.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't.
your mom was doing her best being a single parent,
Yeah.
trying to keep you two boys in line.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's the point.
And trying to discipline you in
Yeah.
certain areas. And so she was doing the best that she could
Yeah.
with what she had. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
she sent us to a good school in Brazil.
okay.
Like in Brazil, if you go to a private school, it's because your parents like they take care about your education.
Yeah, it meant a lot to her to
Yeah.
make sure you get a good education.
And she did that for us. We never had like video games, cell phones
Really?
at the time.
Huh.
No. We used to play in the streets with our friends and stuff like that. But my mother, she always provided the base, like what we really needed. You
Right.
know, education, food, clothes, some fun. You know, she did our best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. So did you do well in school? Was it a hard school because it was private, or?
Well, I
How did
was
you do?
good in science, English, but like at some point, math and physics, chemistry was not my point. I always struggled with these classes, but I never was one of the best students, but I was always in the middle.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
I was a good friend for my friends at school.
Yeah.
Sometimes I did really well at school with my grades, but I never wanted. Like, I was the best a couple of times, but like as the times passed by, school was getting harder, and I was just like, well,
Yeah.
I just want to make the year. I don't care to be
Yeah.
like the best student.
Yeah. What was your dreams as a kid? What did you want to do and what did you want to be? Did you have any of those growing up that you would kind of fantasize about a little bit?
Well, I always saw my mother working hard a lot, and she always taught me to go further in life.
Mm-hmm.
She always had a good approach. Like, she took really well with of her money, and she told me to do the same. I don't know what I want to be. I just knew that I want, like as a kid, I just want to be rich. You know, that's what you want to be. You want to have money. But in Brazil, like at the time, I never had the idea to open a business, to invest money, never. And in Brazil, like people, if you want to have money, you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer, you need to be, I don't know, you need to go to college to, and most of the people, they do that because they want the money, not because they love what they do, you know. So when I was a kid, I just wanted to discover when I really wanted to be, but I always wanted to have more than enough for me, for my family, to be able to help me, my family, and others as well.
Gotcha.
I remember a couple of times that I always was I helped some people when I was a kid, with money, with clothes, with food. So I had been a giver for for a while already, since I was a kid. My mother always told me to give, you know, not to hold for me, but always being given. Like I don't mind to give stuff for other people, you know, help them with what they need. So it's good for me. My wife and I, we have done these things a couple of times, and the feeling you feel when you are helping someone else, it's great.
Yeah, that is. I'm glad you said that, because I think there's a powerful principle that I teach my clients, and it's this: if you want to be, give it away. So if you want to be anything, so for instance, if you want to be happy, go give away happiness. If you want to be abundant, go give away your abundance. Go give your $5 to someone that only has $1, right? And then you've got it, and you get it back. And the feeling, like you said, John, that when we help others and we reach out to other people, how good it feels. And so I'm glad. So that's something your mom taught you at a young age, it sounds like.
Yeah, I remember that I had a blanket that I loved a lot when I was a kid, and she gave away that blanket, and I got really mad at my mom. But you
that's
know,
your blankie.
It was a yellow blanket that I loved. I was walking all the time with that blanket, but well, she gave to other person that needed more than me, you know, because I was growing up already. She wanted me to be a boy and not to be a baby holding a blanket, you know. And I have seen
you were
my
18
mom.
when you were holding the blanket.
I'm sorry.
I'm
No.
It's like, it's time to grow up, John. Let's get rid of that blankie. No, but that's I bet that was really hard at the time. But knowing that it went to someone who needs it a little more than you do.
Yeah, I saw her giving away a lot of stuff for other people, and before my mission, I helped a lot of people on the streets, you know, and you know, I can't remember that I helped a couple of people in my life. And I'll keep doing that. Always I see a chance to do that.
That's great. Well, what led up to you wanting to come to the United States? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so when I come back from my mission, I served a LDS mission in Brazil. And when I came back, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I was kind of lost. I didn't know. And I had a friend who grew up with me. His name is Peter. And he is one of the smartest person that I have ever known in my life.
Right.
And I was in my mission, and this guy, he won a championship in Brazil, and he won against 5,000 people. And he went to Japan to show his idea to Japanese investors, And when he came back, he told me about the stuff about investments, about stock market and whatever. And I was like, okay. As soon as I got back from my mission, I got a job in a American company called
Right.
High Site Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
My boss, he was from here, Wisconsin, and he flew down to Brazil to open the business out there. And I got a job in the company. I was hired to be his executive secretary.
Okay.
And at that time, the company was growing. It was a direct sales company. The company used to work with really expensive stuff for kitchen,
Okay.
pans,
Sure.
forks, and stuff like that. So you could make a lot of money selling that stuff,
Right.
And he offered me 2 positions in sales or in the office, but I got the job in the office because, I wanted to have a salary, like
Yeah.
a safe stuff. I didn't want to sell anything.
Right.
But 2 months after, I was paying the commissions, and I saw how much money those guys were making selling that stuff.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And a couple of days thinking about that, I called my boss and I thought, hey, I need to quit. I'm going to the sales right now. And he was like, okay. He just shook my hand. Good luck. And I remember that I quit the job on Monday, on Tuesday, and I started with sales. And in 3 days, I closed 3 deals, and I made more money than I used to make in an entire month in 3 days.
Wow.
3 days.
Well, sounds like you made the right choice, huh?
Well, that was the point when I truly realized that something was wrong with selling your time,
Yeah.
working for someone else 9 to 5 every day. And I was like, man, I did more than I used to make in an entire month in 3 days. And that was my turning point. Like, man, I need to learn about this because I'm not going to work for someone else forever.
Right.
I don't want to have a usual life. And I worked with sales in that company for hopefully 8 months. I brought more people to work with me. I had a team with around 10 people. And I learned about sales, about management, and all that kind of stuff. But my mind was being open for money, but I still didn't know what I truly wanted in my life.
Yeah.
When I was born, my grandma, she joined the LDS church, and for a while, I always wanted to live in Utah because I always saw those Americans, missionaries. I always thought that Utah was a paradise, and I had
Right.
that feeling inside of me for all my life that I wanted to be here. And around December 2016, I was working in this company, and it was about 8 months after when I got back from my mission.
Right.
I was going to sleep already, and a girl called me, texted me on Facebook. It was Chantel. She was asking me how I learned, how did I learn to speak English so well.
Uh-huh.
And we started to talk, and like something started to going on between us. And I tried my visa to come here to visit her, but my visa was denied, so I couldn't make it. So I told her, I called her, and I told her, hey, my visa was denied. I can't go to see you. But she bought the tickets, and she flew down to Brazil like 2 months after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in March. And she got to know my family, my brother, my grandma, and they loved her. We spent 2 weeks together, and that was enough to for us to decide what we want to do, you know. So she came back to US to
So you knew within that 2 weeks you wanted to be with her.
I knew. Well, she knew as well even before.
You just had this just based on what you had seen and heard.
Well, we were talking for a while before,
Gotcha.
and we had a lot of stuff in common. And the way she found me, you know, I felt in my heart that she could be the one. But she flew down to Brazil, and I got to see her that she was real, you know.
Right. Like, this is real. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I wasn't just talking to a computer.
Yeah, it was good because all the time we were only make phone calls, video calls, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And when she went to Brazil, we had the chance to talk together, to hang out, you know. And when she came back to US, we applied for the fiancé visa, and the whole process took 11 months. Yeah, we were away for almost a year.
Okay.
But I got the visa. I went to have my interview in Rio de Janeiro, and they gave me the visa, and I came to US last year on February.
Okay.
Yeah. And we got married in April in the Salt Lake Temple on April 14th.
Oh, right on.
Around 1 year.
Very cool.
1 year ago.
Yeah, so it's been over a year.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, and it's be cool because since I came to US, I have that perspective, you know, between Brazil and US, and I can see the difference between the two countries.
Right.
You know, Brazil is a great country. It's a beautiful place. Just like US, but you know, like Brazil it's a little expensive to live, a lot of taxes, it's not so safe, you know. You need to be careful where you go, and like the living cost in my city is high,
right?
You know, like if you make money, like you are gonna pay all your bills, but in the end you're not gonna have so much to
do anything else.
Yeah.
Like
in here you work more than in Brazil, but you make more money, but you can have like more power to to buy your stuff,
right?
You know, and it's cheaper, it's safer, you know. I feel like in US, like especially here in Utah, I hadn't been in other states, but I think like in the West, like there's a mutual respect between people,
right? Yeah,
you know, people are polite, and then that's the point. I think I'm like here in US, people are more polite. They talk to you on the street even if they don't know you.
Yeah,
you know, they ask you how you are. They hold the door for you at the gym,
right?
Whatever you are.
Yeah, little
you know,
things like that.
That's
go
cool.
a long way.
I like it
for sure.
You know, and that's it. I love US. I feel safe here. I feel like I'm home. Like I feel like I came back home.
Right.
You know, like I had business in Brazil to do for a while, but I came back home after all that time.
Gotcha.
You know, I feel very blessed here.
Yeah. Is your mom happy that you're here?
Yeah, she was, because when I came back from my mission, Brazil was going through a very bad time. Like scandals, politicians doing crazy stuff with the money, you know. And when I came back, like I just heard that there was no jobs. Like Brazil was broken.
Was struggling,
yeah.
So.
And when I told her that I was moving to US, she got very happy for me because she knew that I was gonna have another chance, another life, you know.
Right.
And so another
That's
life.
Awesome. So let's talk about you know, you've come here now, and you're you know, you're married to your beautiful wife, and things are going well. and you have this passion for investing.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that and kind of
Mhm.
what you're doing now,
Okay.
and then and why you're so passionate about it.
Okay. So first of all, most of people think that I my goal is to be rich because I love fancy stuff, but actually I hate fancy stuff. I want to be rich because I don't want to wake up in the morning and leave my wife and go to work for someone else that I don't like.
Right.
You know,
Sure.
I want to have the freedom to travel, to travel
Right.
whenever I want. So money is not. It doesn't mean for me fancy clothes, fancy cars, fancy stuff. So when this friend from Brasilia came at me, Peter, he told me about investments and stock market, and he said that I need to start. And I always had that in my mind, but I didn't know exactly what the stock market was.
Right.
How the stock market works. So when you put your money in the stock market, you are buying ownership over those companies.
Right.
Like you can buy stocks from Coca-Cola, Visa, MasterCard, Wells Fargo, and when you buy stocks from that company, the company see you as an investor.
Right.
And as an investor, you are supposed to receive part of the money from that company, part of the
right.
profits.
Yep.
It's called dividends.
Dividends.
Yeah, dividends. When you hold a stock, the company pays dividends. And like when I started investing here, I realized that this is America. This is America. We have the S&P 500, the largest company in America, and people don't realize how powerful the stock market is. And Chantel and I, we decided that we were gonna seek for freedom,
Mm-hmm.
and we were gonna invest 20% of your money in the stock market, and we have been doing this for a while already.
Great.
And I love it. I just love it, and I teach people what I know, because sometimes people, if like there are people, if I gave them $10,000 right now in their hands, they're gonna spend everything.
Yeah.
Like they like investing is the last idea they're gonna have in their minds.
Right.
They're gonna buy an iPhone, fancy shoes, they're gonna travel, and a few weeks, but after they're gonna be broken again.
Yeah, they're gonna be the 10. They're gonna blow the 10 grand and.
Yeah. So I have been found good companies that I have put my money. And investing in the stock market is more for the long term.
Right.
You're not gonna be rich like in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It's at least 10, 15 years. Right. After 10, 15 years, you can say that you have some money. But my goal is to have money enough to create dividends enough to pay for my bills, and I don't have to work for the money anymore.
Right.
So those dividends, they are gonna cover my liabilities. So that's my goal in the stock market.
Okay.
And then I can provide for me, for my wife, for my kids, and for other people that I want to help.
Right.
And I have been following, Todd, a couple of philosophies that I believe. Most of people, I don't wanna sound harsh with anybody, but like most of people, they follow what other people do. You gotta get married, you gotta get a job, and you need to buy a house as soon as possible. Personally, we are like great, like for now. We
Mhm.
don't need to buy a house. There's nothing wrong with renting a place, because you can invest more money.
Right. Yeah.
I just feel like there's a lot of resources you can use. If you it's not about how much money you make, it's more like how you take care of your money.
Right.
And one of the histories that most inspires me, there was a man here in United States called Theodore Johnson, and he worked for UPS as a driver. And over his entire life, he never made more than $14,000 per year.
Right.
And one day, a friend told him, "Hey, you need to invest your money." And he was like, "No, I don't have money enough to invest."
Yeah. Right.
And his friend told, "Well, if the government comes here and say they are gonna tax you, you are gonna scream, cry, but you are gonna pay.
But you're still gonna pay it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do that with yourself. When you get your
That's a good
paycheck,
point. Yeah.
you need to tax 20% of your money and put this in the market."
Right.
And this guy, he made this for his entire life. When he was about to retire, he had a fortune. His fortune was about 80 millions of dollars.
Wow. Yeah.
And he was investing only 20%
Right.
of his income.
Sure.
So that's possible. You can invest for your future, and when you are about to be done with your life, like about to die, you don't need to depend on the government.
Right.
You can have
take care
money
of
enough.
yourself,
Yeah,
right.
that's the point.
Yeah. So you have to be very disciplined to do those kind of things.
Yeah.
Right. It comes down to disciplining yourself to put 20% aside, because that's a good chunk for a lot of people.
Yeah, but you
Right.
know what is interesting? After a while, you get addicted.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you get addicted. Like I used to spend money with some stuff that I don't need, but after a while, invest all the money I want to invest. Like it's like a drug.
Yeah.
You want to make sure your money is going to a good place.
Yeah. No, that
It's interesting.
makes a lot of sense. That's good advice too. If you could give any advice to anyone out there right now who, is looking to just try to better their lives, what
Yeah.
advice could you give them?
Well, I had the same question when I was in Brazil, and for a while I was stuck reading a lot of books,
Mm-hmm.
book after book after book
Right.
after book after book, but I was in the same place.
Yeah.
I was in the same place.
Yeah.
I felt, man, I have been reading all these books, but nothing has changed in my life.
Yeah.
Yep. But sometimes you don't need to know more. You need to do more.
Yeah.
I
love that. Yeah, you can read every book on the planet, but if you don't do anything with the information, what does it matter?
Yeah, I was fat mentally speaking. I had so much stuff in my mind,
Yeah.
but I was locked in my room
Yeah.
thinking about the future I was gonna have. I think start to invest was the turning point of my life.
Yeah.
So I think you don't need to have a lot to start, but you just need to start. So I think for those who needs a piece of advice, I just would say that you can start right now with whatever you
Mhm.
have.
Right.
You don't need to have a lot to start.
Yeah. Well, that's great advice, and I love the advice of, you can read and read, but
Yep.
you're still in the same place. You've got to
Yeah.
go out and do.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes along with anything in life, and I love that advice. I think that's wonderful. If there's some people out there that want to get to know you better or want to know more about your story, what would be a good way for them to reach out to you?
Well, they can talk to me on my Instagram account.
Okay.
How do you say that symbol?
At the @ sign.
the Rio Joao Pedro, but I have also my email. But I am in LDS Business College.
So what? Are you comfortable giving out your email?
Yeah, sure. I
Spell it out for us.
actually I can give my phone number.
You really
It's
want to
better
give your
for
phone
me.
number?
Yeah, my phone number is 385-251-9644.
All right.
And people can text me, ask me
Yeah.
whatever they want to know about
Okay.
money management and investment.
Right on. Well, no crank calling them either, right? Well, hey, I want to thank you, John, for spending the time and sharing a little bit of your story.
Thanks, Todd.
Another
Thanks for the
wonderful
chance.
Absolutely. And I love your drive to try to better yourself and how you went from where you were at in Brazil. You know, like you said, you loved it. It's a beautiful country, but your situation there wasn't ideal.
Yep.
And you wanted to try to make things better for you. And obviously now you're married to Chantel and you guys are doing some really cool things. And so I admire you for what you're doing and the way you live your life. And so I want to thank you for being on
Thanks,
my
Todd.
Belief Cast.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I have heard good stuff about your podcast and all the people I have seen you talking. And one of the guys, he studies at LDS Business College as well. And
Yeah, Williamson.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
I know him.
Yeah, and you're a good dude too. And
Thank you.
I appreciate you being on. And so there you go, listeners. Another amazing Belief Cast with another great person, Joao Rodrigues. Please reach out to him if you'd like to know any more. Again, thanks for your support. And again, thank you to Veracity Networks for your sponsorship of this.
Thank you, Todd.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys have a great day, and we will be in touch with you guys soon.